During Tribeca, I saw Amanda Kramer's film Imaginal Disk, which is the visual companion to Magdalena Bay's concept album of the same name. So I figured I'd share some movie recommendations inspired by Imaginal Disk, both the album and the film. Since Amanda Kramer directed the film, out of all the films I've seen from her so far, I think Give Me Pity is the closest to Imaginal Disk in terms of style and theatricality. A lot of the imagery from the album cover to the film to the song Feeling Disconcerted involve a disc being inserted into a woman's forehead, which reminds me of the videotapes being inserted into Max's abdomen in Videodrome. The visual style of the film reminds me of Pee-wee's Big Adventure and The Science of Sleep. Plus the lines, "And she felt like a dream" in the song She Looked Like Me, and "Count up all the years that we spend asleep" in the song Killing Time also made me think of The Science of Sleep and Waking Life. The tone and energy of Imaginal Disk remind me of Daisies. Since this is a concept album, I tried really hard to make sense of the story, but the film is very abstract, so this is just my interpretation, which could very much be incorrect. But an imaginal disc is a part of an insect larva that eventually emerges as part of their adult body after metamorphosis, for example, a butterfly's wings. So I saw this album as being about transformation, with the titular imaginal disc being a CD-like device that's implanted into the character True's forehead that's designed to transform her into the ideal version of herself. The song True Blue Interlude serves as an advertisement for that procedure, and in the film we see these infomercials for it. And that makes me think of The Substance, because in this film there's an advertisement for this procedure to physically become the idealized version of yourself. This idea of an idealized version of yourself and the line "meet your brand new image" in the song Image makes me think of Helter Skelter. Plus this film has a lot of bright colors like Imaginal Disk. And this idea of becoming the idealized version of yourself results in a lot of doppelganger imagery, with Mika playing two characters in the film. Plus the song She Looked Like Me really gets at this idea of a doppelganger. A lot of the films that came to mind involving doppelgangers, doubles, or shifting identities also have this dreamlike quality to them because of the lyrics and visuals from Imaginal Disk. So I want to recommend Twin Peaks, which especially came to mind because there are scenes with a black and white floor, Mulholland Drive, Perfect Blue, The Double Life of Veronique, Infinity Pool, and Persona. Persona especially feels comparable because of the experimental, abstract nature of it. During Image, the way the animation tugs at Mika's face reminds me of Brazil. Some of the costumes and dancing remind me of Party Monster. In an interview, Mika cited House and Flash Gordon as inspirations. During an interview at Tribeca, Matt mentioned The Fifth Element, Mika mentioned Fantastic Planet, and Amanda Kramer mentioned Suspiria. I think Solaris fits the vibe of the album because it's about love, and the visuals for Imaginal Disk have an ethereal, interstellar vibe with UFOs. So a film set on another planet makes sense. And even though this film doesn't involve doppelgangers, there are characters who are basically replicas or copies of people. There's a romance aspect to the storyline in both the film and album, especially in the songs Death and Romance and Fear Sex. And in the film, the love interest is depicted as a sort of glowing figure, and there are UFOs, so I was thinking of Starman. And this one isn't an extraterrestrial story, but just the notion of a romance with a mysterious creature makes me think of The Shape of Water. The songs Death and Romance and Fear Sex also make me think of Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, because this film basically explores the intersections of death and romance and fear and sex. Another film that explores those intersections is Leviticus, which also involves doppelgangers. The lyrics to Vampire in the Corner make me think of Obsession, not just because of the way Nikki stands in corners, but this idea of loving someone too much. Plus, in Imaginal Disk, the character becomes this idealized version of herself, which makes me think of how Bear wasn't in love with Nikki, he was in love with his own idealized version of her, and now she's scaring him off, like the lyric Vampire in the Corner, am I scaring you off? And Imaginal Disk is about how this idealized version of the character isn't her authentic self, which also feels fitting for Obsession because that's not the real Nikki. The song Watching TV makes me think of I Saw the TV Glow, not just because of the visual of watching TV and the line too much watching TV, it's gonna rot you from the inside out, but I Saw the TV Glow explores this idea of discovering your true self. And some of the lyrics in this song are, it's time to meet the monsters inside you, they know what's been wrong with you all these years, slip your skin right off and hang it out, and the repeated line, it's not me, which all hint at this idea of someone not being their real self. Plus the song Killing Time with the lyrics, if time is meant for a living, why is it killing me? It only takes a minute to forget a week, and count up all the years that we spend asleep, makes me think of what Maddie says about time in I Saw the TV Glow. Time wasn't right, it was moving too fast.
And then I was 19, and then I was 20. Felt like one of those dolls asleep in the supermarket, stuffed. And then I was 21, like chapters skipped over on a DVD. Told myself, this isn't normal. This isn't normal. This isn't how life is supposed to feel.
Black Swan came to mind because of this character wanting to be the idealized version of herself, and in Black Swan, Nina desperately wants to be perfect. But it especially comes to mind during the song Tunnel Vision, because in Imaginal Disk, this is basically when the character's going on a journey of self-discovery and realizing she's her own problem, with the line, "I'm aware of all my parts, and suddenly I see everything wrong." And in Black Swan, Nina needs to realize that the person standing in her own way is herself. And this film also ties in with the Doppelganger theme. Love is Everywhere reminds me of Amelie, because the main character in this movie basically realizes that love and joy are happening around her once she stops living inside her own imagination. This movie's also quirky and whimsical like Imaginal Disk. That's My Floor makes me think of Enter the Void, because of the lyrics, "So maybe if I opened up my mind, I could really learn to look alive," and the line floating above the lobby. Plus this imagery of partying and Imaginal Disk's psychedelic aesthetic. In an interview, Mika said, "Cry for Me is from the perspective of a villain who's on a journey of wanting absolution and begging to be remembered in a positive light," which makes me think of Amadeus, how this character feels like he's been betrayed by God and desperately wants to be remembered. Plus, there's the use of piano in this song. Angels on a Satellite makes me think of It's a Wonderful Life, because it literally involves an angel, and the lyric, "'Cause when I see me through your eyes, I love me, so don't leave my side," reflects a similar idea. Because in It's a Wonderful Life, the main character gets to see how much of an impact he's had on other people's lives, and seeing himself from a different perspective helps him understand his own worth and learn to love himself again. The Ballad of Matt and Mika makes me think of The Truman Show, especially the ending, because my interpretation of this song is that it closes the album, so it's like a final curtain call, where after going through the whole procedure with the Imaginal Disc and then going on a journey of self-discovery, they learned about self-love and are now the most authentic version of themselves. So it's like they're taking a bow as their true selves. I'll add a list of these movies to Letterboxd in case anyone's interested, but comment and let me know if there are any movies that come to mind when you listen to Imaginal Disc, and let me know what your favorite song on the album is.